remember. So there are other sources of global reporting, the planet and the topic, have their global reporting initiative, it's the certification in globe, ISO, 2000, United Nations Global Compact, quite accident so all these the seven subjects of the the government, the
So maybe I should think before, maybe next time I'll think before. I know that I should think before I speak, 'cause I'm saying things that I don't even mean. Maybe I'm more honest than I want to be. So maybe I should think before, maybe next time I'll think before I
that this topic is over. I intend to go your mission. So we go to the next topic.
maybe I should think before, maybe next time I'll think before maybe I should think before, maybe next time I'll think before I talk.
Oh, this is serious. Sorry? Yeah, the same link. So it's good that you keep a bit of watch. So governance and ethics is the eighth topic.
I'm so into you, I can barely breathe.
So governance is related to government,
And all I
is related to
is to fall in thee.
many words that are related to government.
Close ain't
Governable,
close enough
governor,
to cross the
government,
line.
governing, government,
So name
governmental.
a game to play.
Probably there are more. Governance is the only one to be out of touch because it was in the manors, Britain, and in wealthy families. The governess was the one who took care of all the staff. She did the staff, that was the governess. Now what is the common all of them? It comes from this guy that was the governor. So in Latin, the pilot was called the governor. And there are two things that the pilot has to know. Where are we going? And to make sure that you steer the ship on all the seas and all the rollers until you reach the port. To know where you are going, what is the purpose, what we want to achieve. And secondly, to make sure that what we are doing is in line, is going to get us there. So, now there are things of governance that normally are confused. One is the most general that encompasses the other two. Regardless, to direct. So we govern our lives, we govern our institutions, we govern our company, we govern our house, we govern our family. We don't call it like that, but we steer. That's why it's more technical because it's just for corporations. For the corporations, for the board of directors, we are very specific the number of people that have to pay something. And then the most common is what people understand is governance. When you talk about governance, it's going to be everything of the government. So, what has to be governed? Well, any society has to be governed because no matter how the individual has to be governed, we have to govern ourselves. And we have to direct it. We have purpose. And from purpose we are in all the things. But we then once we have what to do, we have to get them. And society, well, has to be efficient. Different societies have political societies, economic societies, business societies, so they have different approaches. So the upper meaning is to control and guide the action. That is the general meaning. That is direct. So as we said before, so the most important thing is to know where you want to go. If you don't know where you want to go, there is no way that you can direct yourself or the company anywhere. So society become more objective. More objective. That is the first thing that one has to do. What are we here for? What are we here for? So that we can work together to reach that thing. So that is putting the goals for reaching the future. So we have to make a plan. How do we reach it? And well, sometimes we know where we want to be, but we don't know how. And then that is we go on zero tolerance to corruption. We want that. But how do we reach it? Because we know that. Then once you have the plan, you have to work the plan. You have to work. Normally the plan is never set. And the system has changes. So you have to continue revising the plan. Sticking to it until you reach it. So governance requires plan. Then the second meaning is management strategy. So establishing policy, continuous monitoring, proper implementation, remember the governing body of all organizations. And that is the board of directors. In Britain, 1992, we wanted to kind of control ourselves, the business institutions, to do better. Then they created a committee in how to improve specific laws and government of the business corporations of the country. And then they Carbonell was the leader of the committee. So the definition of corporate governance is system in which companies are directed, are directed and these are corporations that are listed in the stock exchange. That is mandatory for them. For other companies, if you have a private company, you can have a board of directors as well, but you don't have shares. So the board of directors is the representative of the shareholders that controls the company. So for example, with Kenya Airways, you have a board of directors, but there are thousands of shareholders. So every year, mandatory, at least once a year, you have to have a general meeting. And with the shareholders, basically, say what they want the company to do. And then the board of directors then has to make sure that the managers do what has been agreed. Normally it's not that simple because the directors usually are proposed by the previous directors, which are in cahoots with the company management, and many times the government is very interested in big companies like Kenya Airways or Kenya Breweries, or that is more independent, or other companies. So this short video is very interesting for two reasons, because it explains, or it says what corporate governance says, what is the purpose of corporate governance, and then how to do it well.
Corporate governance.
We don't have sound. Still have my disco on.
Definition. Corporate governance is the system by which a company is directed and controlled. It contains three critical words: system, directed, and controlled. As with all systems, it is essential to keep focused on the objective of corporate governance. And the objective is actually quite simple. It is to make better decisions. Corporate governance is not simply a regulatory compliance issue, but in effect, corporate governance actually enables the business to be more successful through better decision making. The key to the effectiveness of corporate governance in an organization is the flow of information. For example, it's critical that the right information gets to the right people at the right time. There are also, of course, dangers associated with information. Not enough or inaccurate information leads to ill-informed decisions, whilst too much information means you can lose focus on what is actually supposed to be important. So apply the less is more principle, but do so with care. The most common serious failure is ineffective follow-up of decisions made. Therefore, agenda item number 1 in any committee must have 2 clear elements. Have we done what we have said we would do, and did it work? Only when you can answer yes to both of these questions can the item be considered dealt with effectively. Other critical areas relating to the success of corporate governance include challenging the decisions and recording of the challenges made, simplicity so that the system is both accessible and easily understood, and finally, honesty, making sure that people feel confident enough to actually state their mind. So sorry about my comment at the beginning of this session when I said you'd learn everything you needed to know, but at least you've made a start.
So very system, which are the rules to control, to direct where you're going and to control. Then you need the flow of information, it's very important. And then one important thing that many times it is not well done, we are following a tremendous cumbersome system of minutes, is the minutes of meetings. So the first item is what was decided before, has been done, yes, and let it work, yes. So let's go then to the topics to the next topics. The second thing is in the meetings, if you are eventually you will be on board of meetings if you are not now, is to record the opinions, the dissenting opinions. And that is very important because that keeps an audit trail, a management trail, and then you can analyze 2 things. One, why we make this wrong decision, and who was the wise person who tell us, no, we shouldn't take that decision. That's one thing. We learn from our mistakes. So if the mistakes are recorded, you can go and find out why this mistake has been done 3 years ago, for example. And then the second thing is you are taken to court because something fishy was done and you oppose the decision, you're scot-free. I told them that it was irregular, that it was unethical, that it was unlawful, and they didn't listen to me. Here it is. It is recorded. So it's very important that things are recorded in government, proper government. So the most common meaning. The most common meaning is the government that takes important decisions that affect all of us. So governance and government. Now, what are the main ethical issues in ethical corporate governance? Well, before, because this is governance. Oops. No, I have to go there.
Well, corporate governance is the interplay between 3 main constituencies. You have shareholders, boards of directors, and management. So the first step is having a functional relationship between those 3 constituencies. If shareholders are a little bit too short-term or encourage unintentionally too much short-termism in the way that they're addressing the company, that can create problems. Boards of directors have to have a good dynamic in how they're talking among themselves and how they're relating to management. So if you have a good functional relationship between those three constituencies, that's the baseline for good governance. Nothing else is going to make a difference if that relationship is not working. The main problem with governance that people see is actually short-termism. Even when people complain about management or the board of directors of the company focusing too much on short-term stock price, what they're really complaining about is the effect of management focused on this quarter's earnings or the stock price, in this period when they're about to exercise their options perhaps, the potential cost of the long-term health of the company. So if we're able to do anything we can do to reduce the impact of short-termism is going to create a more ethical culture in a company, because most of the problems have to do with sacrificing the long term for the short term in a way that's way beyond what balance.
So what is short-termism? Short-termism is quick gains. Quick gains in the stock exchange, for example. So let me try to hide this. That is getting in the way. So you're a manager that you are appointed to the company. You know that you have 4 years. And then in the United States of America, on top of that, your bonus is pegged to the stock exchange valuation. So what do? You want the stock exchange to go as high as possible during those 4 years, so you get incredible bonuses. What happened afterwards to that company, I don't care. Then what happened? So you don't invest in maintenance, you don't invest in, you sell land, you sell machines, you sell anything that shows that your accounts are really good. Then what happens when you leave? Well, that company is under, the machines start not working, there is no land for expansion, so you have to spend a lot of money buying new land, you have to buy new machines, and some crucial equipment that you needed is not there, so you have to buy it again. That and creates a problem. You sack the most valuable people because they have the high salaries, and this is exactly what happened to Boeing. So Boeing was a technical, an engineering company that the aim was to have the best airplanes. So they had very good engineers, but then when there was a change of management, the new management wanted precisely short-term gains. So they started sacking the people that knew more about the company, the old engineers, the old mechanics, because they were have a great salary, a big salary. And then they employ young people that were inexperienced. Then on top of that, the Airbus produced modify one of the planes, and then that consume much less fuel than the others. And then they started gaining market share. So the shares of Boeing were going down. So they wanted quickly to make a plane to compete with Boeing, and then they took many shortcuts. And this is what happened with the 2 accidents, one in Malaysia and another in Ethiopia, where some of our people died. Why? Because they cheated badly, and it was not properly tested. And the test that people say the management didn't want to hear about them. So that's why short-term managing in short-term is not good. The pressure of the shareholders is great, of course. So if I buy shares of any company, what I want is return. I'm not interested in what they produce. What I want is, if I invest 1 million, I want to have continuous returns from that million, better than if I put it in the bank, better if I put it in government bonds or other bonds. Now, Professor Dame Sandra Dodson, she is a specialist in governance, and she has a very nice interview. I just took a couple of pieces of it to indicate what is governance.
Important takeaways will be, firstly, there is no organisation which cannot improve its efficiency and effectiveness and cannot use its resources better for the purposes to which it's set up. And in doing that, two things are fundamental. Systems, controls, and structures are very important. You need to understand the finances, you need to get the operations, you need the logistics right. All those systems are right. But unless you can take people with you on what is always a difficult journey of trying to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of an organisation, unless you can take people with you, all the investment you make in better functions, better systems, will come to nothing. So the first takeaway is people really matter, and that leads directly into leadership, because to me leadership is about getting others to come with you on difficult journeys that they wouldn't probably otherwise choose to come. If everyone wants to come with you, no leadership's involved. Getting others to come with you on these difficult journeys is what leadership is about. And then the second takeaway is that governance structures really matter. Who is to make decisions, on what legitimacy, and at what timing? We need to know that in every organisation that we are approaching. So I'm very pleased to be talking about leadership and governance, because it seems to me that they come together, and funnily enough, they come together around the same theme of let's get the systems right, let's get the structures right, let's get the evaluation right. But unless you get the people to come with you, you won't have an organisation which actually increases its effectiveness and decreases its efficiency. And that's where I started.
So people, you can have beautiful laws, beautiful regulations, beautiful structures. If people are not for them, nothing works. In order to have good governance, you need good people that want to govern properly. And the second thing is very clear, what she calls who takes the decisions when the decisions are taken, what legitimacy do they have. So people have to know what is their authority still. So who decides this and who decides that? So that everybody in the organization knows when I have a problem, whom do I go to? When this decision has to be taken, whom do I have to speak to, persuade to get this thing? So the final end of government, and we're talking now about the government, is not to exert restraint but to do good. So it's not to prevent people from doing things, it's to help people to do good things. So one of the things of government is to make it easy to do good rather than to do evil. And so the laws should foster us, help us to do good in all the fields. So government, and that is the common good. So the purpose of the state is not to direct us to do what we have to do, is to make the conditions in such a way that everyone can do what fits him or her best. So if they don't have to tell me to teach, well, I like teaching, and I have study, and well, I like it. Other people don't like, they prefer to drive Ubers, and that's fine. So other people like to start businesses, which is great. So they don't have to direct, they have to create the conditions by which people can do as much for the good of the country. But they have to be to their profession. And these are businesses, they are NGOs, they are associations. To foster the collaboration among all of them. So creating situations in which they can collaborate more than confrontation, it should be always cooperation. In a good society, which everybody cooperates, then you get much farther. But if you don't cooperate alone, you don't reach that far. So what are the conditions that they provide? So which are the conditions? Let's think of the counties and the central government. So which are the things, according to you, that are exclusive of the central government because the counties alone cannot take care of? Distribution of public resources. Okay, common taxation. And then they distribute it to the counties. Can the counties have their own taxation? So you are double taxed, one by the national government, another by the county government. An example in Nairobi, for example, parking is a clear one. Parking, water, distribution. Sorry? National security, that's clear. So the police and the army, the different branches of the army. Any other thing? Okay, so there is no FBI. It's national. It's federal. Yeah. Yeah. So each country have their own police. Yeah, in many countries you have a national police, and then you have a local national. The national criminals, the criminals that move from place to place, is very difficult to track them. Very good. Any other thing? What about the electricity and power?
What is important for us within the history of that. So the way that you could create a minimum in the minimum wage
So what about international trade? So if there are policies that are, that is the national. So that the electricity generation and electricity distribution affect all the countries, all the counties. So the central government has to regulate. Should they take care of the companies? Yes, I don't like that. Because the government is very inefficient and very politicized in most countries. You can oversee the security and give the policies and control that they are doing the right things. But my experience on the government doing it, you remember Kenya Power and Lighting during Moi time? Yeah. No motivation whatsoever. So yeah, so it's a balance between private and government. Yeah, in Enron, the Enron scandal, for example, they took full advantage of privatizing energy. They really squeezed California. They did very bad things. And they have blackouts, can you imagine blackouts in the United States of America on purpose, so that the rate will go up. And it was bad news. Education, what about education? National or local? National. Why national? Yes, the party. And for secondary, it's all in the hands of the government. Again, you have private and government. That all is government is not that good, but that the policies are government, that is okay. Those in some countries, my impression is Kenya as well, is too strict. Sorry, managing too much. So put it in this way. And they don't allow diversity. Probably you read last year of the 13-year-old engineer in Belgium. He was finishing, I don't know if it was electrical engineering, 13 years old. No, 13, no, 7 years old.
Doesn't matter what you are. You can go to community college, get a diploma, get certification, become a professional field at a much earlier stage than some of the high school. I had a high school classmate who he was trained for 3 months. Did the the demo finishing for 4, you really have 1 or 2. Then after the structure.
Yeah, that is what is preventing to remain in Kenya. Because if you are very bright and like your friend, you are squeezed and then you are prevented from develop. And it's not good for the country, because if you have geniuses, let them flourish. So imagine that we have a Bill Gates here, or Elon Musk. They have no hope. So they have to fly to Britain, or they have to fly to the States to be able to do those things. So that's why I say that the regulations, we still have a colonial mentality, I'm afraid, on those who are in the government. So governance can be, will be good when, and will be bad when. Here you have, I got this last week. So countries that are trusted and efficient. The bottom is efficient. So you have there trusted Malaysia, Germany, Netherlands, and India. So the government is trusted and the government is efficient. I don't know India, but anyway, the people who did this study. Now, unfortunately, none of Africa was considered, but then you have, well, South Africa is down there, that it is not trusted and is not efficient. The government, not the people, not the business. And then you have Romania, Poland, Hungary, Argentina, Peru, etc. And then people that are almost trusted in the government, Turkey, Russia, Italy, Mexico, but they are not that efficient. And there are people who are very trusted, like Japan, but it seems that the government, they don't consider it very efficient. So efficiency and trust, sometimes they don't go together. These are globally the people who are more trusted at the top and the people who are less trusted at the bottom. This is not Kenya. So you have the doctors, you have the scientists, you have the teachers, you have the armed forces, ordinary men and women. They are already 38%. Police, 37%. In Kenya, it doesn't matter. It's not that light. Judges, lawyers, So the ones that are at the bottom, that are distracted totally, are the politicians, the government ministers, the people in advertising, business leaders, bankers, journalists, and civil servants. And the clergy, they are not very trusted either. So, where are you? You are not, you must be trusted because you are scientists. So he continues talking about governance.
Can you seek to improve performance in not-for-profit organisations, for those that are founded for charitable or public service? My answer is always yes. It's more complicated because there isn't one clear bottom line. But we know that in commercial organisations that bottom line is now put within a balanced scorecard. And with the not-for-profit organisations, one needs to understand what their purpose is. And the purpose may be the reduction of poverty, it may be the improvement of health status of women and children, it may be better science in a university. That gives you the touchstone by which you're going to evaluate performance, and you're going to see how you can use your managerial and leadership skills in order to improve performance. So for those people who say, oh well, not for profit, that just means that anyone can do exactly what they want, I find that to be completely wrong. But the essence of something which is set up for public and social good is that you evaluate the performance for delivering public and social good with reasonable utilisation of resources. You don't measure it according to a commercial bottom line.
So the government, how do we measure the government? For non-profit. So
corporate governance assumes that the infrastructure is right and also the people involved are right.
Yes.
Because corporate governance really is about leadership and influence. And I think that as a nation we need to be asking ourselves, what kind of influencers do we have? Who do we have doing what? And I think we are not asking the hard question.
Yes.
The system of corporate governance assumes that there are proper checks and balances, and there is authority, and also there is responsibility. It would appear to me that we are moving away, further away from taking personal responsibility over our destiny as a nation. And I think that's where it ought to begin.
So traditionally, well, there are different evaluations of governance in government. One simple one, which is very easy, and we're going to do an exercise, put it in 8, but actually participatory. So participatory means that people have to participate in the decisions that affect them. Then it has to be consensus oriented. It's not the same participatory that consensus oriented. So consensus oriented is more than participation because you want everybody to agree, or as much as possible people agree. It has to be effective. So effective is what Dame was saying. You have to know what is your purpose. What are your targets? What are the people expecting from you, government, or in an NGO? Is the purpose of this NGO? Transparent is that the people who need to know, because they are involved, should know. One of the things that people still think that we are not getting the information that we need, and we are paying for it, is the SGR. So we don't know what is the agreement, who made the agreement, and what are the benefits, and who got the big cut and who got the small cut. So that is not transparency. So the governance of this or the previous government, I don't know, this government is not transparent, and that's bad governance. So the people who need to know should know. Why the citizens have to know? Because we are paying for that. It's our pocket. Rule of law. So nobody's above the law. There is no impunity. And unfortunately, responsible is You do good, you have to be rewarded. You do bad, you have to be punished. And it has to be public as well if it is public, if it is on. Is how quickly you act. So you have a transformer that blows up. How long does it take for Kenya Power to go and repair it or replace it? So responsive is as quick as possible because there are many people that depend. Is that everybody is involved. Everybody that is in that society try to be decisions, and you don't eliminate people because of the race or because of education or because of disability. So you try to bring everybody into. Means that you distribute the goods according to need. So clearly Turkana and Samburu have more need than Nairobi from the government point of view because we are able to house ourselves, we are able to feed ourselves, but in Samburu the poor people are not even to feed themselves. So we have to really give them more and make it possible with the principle of subsidiarity that we lift that areas you have said before so that they can feed themselves and they can run their own business without having to beg other parts of the nation. So these are the 10 kind of simple way of checking any society regarding the good governance. So if things, then usually it does well. So we're going to do an exercise. Consensus of putting all the people together. So efficient. Is this guy efficient and effective? He's effective. He has cut the branch, but the cost is too high. So it's effective, but it's not efficient. Mm-hmm. This guy, none of the two. So none of the two. So efficiency is to do what you want to do, to achieve what you want, but with the maximum speed, maximum quality. So that is inefficient. So some people are effective, but the cost is too much. It can be done for half of the price, half of the time, and quality. So you want people to be efficient, but the most important thing is so transparent is helping explaining the decisions and motives to the people who need to know. Of course, we don't need to know what the army is doing in Somalia, all the strategy and build the strategy, but we need to know how much they're spending because we pay it from our pocket and the risk that they have and if they're successful or not successful, and especially well in parliament. Then follows the rule of law, so is follow the agreements. If the law says that Miguna deserves a passport, and if the lawyers, the judges have said that, so you have to follow the rule of law. If the Constitution says that the president has to approve the judges as presented by the judicial commission, so the president has to sign. If not, he is not following the rule of law. As we don't follow the rule of law when we dodge traffic or taxes laws. Accountable, which is responsible, recognizes the mistakes and pays for them. So did I tell you about the salesman of Rolls-Royce in Singapore. So there was this Irishman. I know it through a person who knew him personally. So he was very successful, and then he became the CEO, the fellow in charge of selling Rolls-Royce in Singapore. Rolls-Royce is one of the most expensive cars in the world, produced in Britain to detail. So if you want this gadget, they put the gadget. If you want the champagne to be cool at the back, they do it for you. So it's, of course, you pay for everything heavily. Now, this man one day made the mistake of giving a gift, a watch, to a minister. That was the end of the minister and of him. He was put in jail. He was taking all his possessions. He lost his job, naturally enough. The wife divorced him. So when he came out of jail, he had nothing. He was a beggar. So he recognized the mistakes and pays for them. So how many people in Kenya have had that treatment? Not really. So responsive, sustained, responsible customers committed to brands, acting promptly on the demands and situations. So if something is broken, you immediately repair it. And then what are the moral aspects of good governance? Well, the common good. So good governance helps everybody to do the things well. Inclusive, everybody is part of the society, and equitable. So equality is not the same, or the same as equity. You don't give the same to everybody. You give them according to their needs, and then everybody benefits from it. This painting is quite nice to explain it virtually. So the task that we're going to have now is, how many groups do we have? 3, 3, 3. So join 3, 3, 3, and then let me send you the link to a website so you can do it there. This is an appreciation. It's not going to be exact of how do you see so group 3 and group 4 are about to finish, so we can discuss now. Group 2, only one thing to go, an item to go for Sweden. And then group 3 as well, Sweden, responsive. And at group 4 as well. Well, group 4 still have something to go. The only complete are group 1, and group 4 online. Group 5. Let's put group 5 online. So group 2, do you agree on group 2 and group 3? Still you have one to fill in. The rest have finished. So you're missing Sweden, number 10. Group 2 and group 3. How responsive they are. Okay, now group 2 is complete. Group 3 is the one that needs number 10 for Sweden. How responsive you think Sweden government is? Very good. Let's analyze. I think group 1 will have to explain why Kenya is 62 when the other groups give 40, 44, 42, 49. So you are very patriotic. So group 1 doesn't exist. So who has filled group 1?
Group 1 online. Group 1 online.
Group 1 is online. Oh, okay. So online, can you tell us why Kenya is so high compared to the people down here? That let's see the areas where you have consensus oriented 8. That's new. The other people are giving 6. They are giving 4. They are giving 6. And they are giving 4 in consensus oriented. So you are highly optimistic. Inclusive as well. Let's see, people are giving 6. 6. 6. Okay, that is 4. Very good. That's Cynthia, group 5 online. So what other thing you are extremely effective? 8. 4, 6, 3, 4. So why did you give effectiveness an 8?
I gave effective an 8 because of the road infrastructure. Road infrastructure is effective at implementing road infrastructure, but it is efficient in the implementation.
Well, that is efficient, but not effective. Effective will be if
they're able to get it done.
They are targets and they achieve the target. For example, the tablets for primary school.
No, the Vision 2030 in terms of road infrastructure.
They achieve that. And then the road to Mombasa, dual carriage, the SGR to Uganda. So effectiveness, okay. So let's go to Uganda. Uganda, you have given 43. People have given 23, 24, 18, and 44. Again, the people online, you seem to be really optimistic, which is not that bad, but anyway. So Tanzania, 54, 45, 46, 48, 55. So here there is a bit of a discrepancy as well. But what I am amazed is that the 3 groups here are really in tune
among themselves. Then we go to Rwanda. So you give 57, 51, 51, 56, 59. That you got it right. It's a total agreement. And then in Sweden, 81, 78, 81, 82, and 74. So Sweden clearly is quite ahead the rest of us. Very good. So now the question is, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, are they wealthy because they have good governance, or they have good governance because they are wealthy? What do you think? So the structures create the possibility of investment, development, freedom. Okay, very good. So that is the exercise that we have done. Let's continue then with the topic where we were. Any question? So it's clear that the top is Sweden, followed by Rwanda, then Kenya, then Tanzania, and then Uganda. That is the common assessment of most people. Now, look at one of the things of governance of Sweden. Sorry, I may not be sharing with them. I may not be sharing with the people. Ah, no, I was sharing, okay. Look at the Swedish MPs. Well, that is a different style of governance. The people govern themselves. There is very little, and the very poor, and then they consider everybody equal. So you go by Mataru. So they are not Matatus. I remember when they were building this building and the student center and the library, some people say like the central building, but you have some toilet stuff. And the answer is we are all equal. And if you have toilets for the staff, you cannot guarantee that the toilets for the students. You say, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Do you think that our president or our MPs know about the potholes of the roads? Why not? Well, a plane or by helicopter, so that's not good for the common good. Do you know this man? Mm-hmm. He was from Sudan. No, he was Sudan. He became very rich, which and in Africa. And then to be president to deliver after 3 years of resigning, that is a lot of good to his country. Or he doesn't find anybody.
In any sustainable manner, without really good governance, without building robust institutions, without strong rule of law, without providing safety for its people. Why anybody will invest in a country if there is no rule of law there? How can you protect property or investment or move forward without infrastructure? How the company can move forward without educating the young people? How can you produce a useful workforce? Health, immunization of children, gender issues. If we don't resolve all these important questions, how can we move forward? It is a precondition.
So would you say, so it's a precondition, but these things also in terms of education, rule of law, investment, would you also say that in a way they are part of what we mean by development?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. It is when you say precondition, I mean it is a continuous process. I mean it does not happen overnight, but it feeds into the developing process, and the country start to move forward. And as development move forward, there will be more pressure also to further improve governance. So they feed back really continuously in each other.
So it's a never-ending
helps. Yes,
process.
They reinforce each other.
That they give Ibrahim Prize for achievements in African leadership. Mohi Ibrahim, if you click there, you go to the site. So the first year was Beitan, the second year was President Joaquim Chicano of Mozambique, and then President Nelson Mandela. The following year was President Festus Bogue of, I cannot read, Botswana, and then 2 years empty, then President Pedro Perez from Cabo Verde, my goodness. And then another 2 years without anybody, President Hide Fundie of Namibia, 2 years, then President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia, and then 2 years again, President Mamafuro of Niger. So we need 2 years to get the new one, and I don't think Uhuru is going to get it. Okay, how to measure government according to the index? The second thing that he did was to create an index for Africa. So every year, or every second year, because it takes a lot of time, they analyze many variables of governance, much more than the 10. The 10 is the simplified version, and it's good Very good. I praise you for your punctuality. And we continue. So, how to measure governance in the African style of Mo Ibrahim. So, first, say one important 4 areas: security and the rule of law, participation, rights and inclusion, foundation for economic opportunities, and human development. Each area has a specific measuring points. So you have here, for example, participation, then rights, inclusion, equality, and gender. And then the same for human activity, for parameters, health, education, social protection. Then security of law, these ones, and then there for this year. But I want you to test yourselves as good operators to see if you can guess. And then we compare your results with the results. And you are very fast. You did it very fast, the previous one. So you can do this one very fast as well. So we are going to have 4 groups. So the first group is going to do, let's check in the website. Let me send it again through mail to Jenny. Hi, how is this working? Okay, Micheni, there it goes. So group 1 could be, again, group 1 here on the left. So you do the rule of law. Group 2, Micheni and company, you do participation, rights and inclusion. Group 3, foundations of economic opportunity. And group 4, online, human development. So let me give the group online through the chat, the link, second link. So you just click there, you get into this, and remember the people online, let me set you together in a breakout room. Oops. There is only one register at the moment. How is this possible? Room 1. Let me delete it and see what happens. If you are participating or not. You are 5. So it should be good. So let's create the room. Recreate one room, assign automatically. Recreate. So now you are 4, and then 20 minutes. Well, too much, but you will come out before. So there you go. I hope you have clicked already. Let me put it again, just in case. So you click there before you go in. I open the group so that you are in. Very good. So I open the room now. So remember, you are group 4 is human development, the people online. Anthony, Philip, Cynthia, and Dennis. Okay, everybody's there. Very good. Everybody has completed. This is fast. Let's compare now. I was trying to make this. Let's see if I can insert one below. Now make it big. It's too complicated. Anyway, so let's see, compared to what now compare your analysis with this one. Again, I think you are super optimistic. Sorry, I have put South Africa, not Sweden. Now, if we go to the Ibrahim, you will see how complete it is and how more Ibrahim Foundation the governance index. Then here we have to go no our initiatives, leadership prize, leadership fellowship, no, our research, data stories about us. Where are you? Data, here you are. This 2020, it takes them 2 years at least to do it. So you come to explore the data and then you say measure. What measure do we want? We go security and rule of law. And then we ask all the subcategories. Then the location, we say Kenya. Where is Kenya? Here we are. And then view the table. So once we do that, we say go. And then here you have security of the rule of law has all these facets. So you have it up to 2019. The data came in 2020. They have not updated. And then the red means the minimum, and the green means the maximum. So we were best in security in 2016. 2018 was not very good. We have improved a bit to 19. Now, the interesting thing is to get that figure, look at the components that they use. Security and safety, rule of law and justice. And you click and then you even have more. So it's not an impression, it's just data that they collect. And anti-corruption, you see, we were better which were year 2010 than in anti-corruption that we are now. So we were at 63 and now we are at 47. So it seems that anti-corruption is going down. Things that are improving is corruption in state institutions and in the public sector. In the public procurement procedures, we have gone down. We are almost 3 years in a row identical. Absence of corruption in the private sector, the best was in 2018. We have gone down a bit. Now, security and safety, you have all these things, rule of law and accountability. This is a fantastic instrument to really compare anti-corruption again. We have improved in some areas in state institution. I think this is repeated. So you can go to this site and then compare your analysis with it with detail. We are not going to analyze it in detail, but for you to see how the governments in Africa now have fantastic tools if they want to improve. Not only the countries of Africa, the government, but the people of Africa, which are the ones who have to control the government, as we are going to see in the next slide. So for Kenya, I have got the data. So here you have security and safety. So anti-corruption is the lowest and security is the highest. Rule of law, no accountability as well. So participation is the lowest, and inclusion and equality, but in gender, we are improving. Then the economic opportunity, we are quite good compared to the rest of Africa, but still we can improve. The business environment seems to have improved, and the lowest is public administration. And finally, human development. The word is sustainable environment. Health we have improved, education we have improved. Now, the index that we have seen of Mo is not the only one. So there are different indexes that you can check. I choose this one because it's from the northern countries. And then
the Druin Governance Index compares the governance effects and outcomes for 38 different countries around the world. Those countries represent about 2/3 of global GDP and about 3/4 of the global population. And essentially, it breaks down the process of governance into 3 separate things. One is the inputs, which is the quality of your democracy. Then there's the quality of your governance, that's kind of your throughput. And then there's your quality of life, and that's kind of your outputs. By disaggregating the process of government into 3 different things and creating essentially 3 different indices, we can look at what the relationships are between those 3 and how governments function to actually produce quality of life outcomes.
So here at the Bergman Institute, we don't have Kenya. No, Kenya is here. You see Kenya here at the bottom. So the quality of democracy, sorry, I'm going too fast. The quality of democracy, we are low, and then you have who are the quality, the best quality of democracy on this side, then you have them. And you see that the quality, you want us to go deeper. So we have better quality of democracy than Nigeria. But the second is the quality of government. We are at par with Nigeria practically. At this time, Ukraine was not that good. And then you see that the ones that are at the top, quality of government and quality of democracy, they go together. So the government is the one who imposes democracy. So the government index, let's get here, and then you see where we are. Nigeria is ahead of us. Oh, that is humiliating. This is the government index. Now, again, the top countries are Georgia, Saudi Arabia. Oh, comparing achievement in government. So this is the result, the output of the government. Then now this is Kenya, and they put it in what they call, how it is called, spider, no, graph. So let's go here. So the government index, political engagement, we are engaged. Feedback mechanism, not very good. Civil society, we are not taking our responsibility. And culture, democratic culture, well, can improve a lot. Now, if we go to governance index, so we have good analytical capacity, this data that we produce, which is quite good if you go to the government in the, how did this call? The government statistics is quite good. And tax collection capacity is good, unfortunately, for the citizens. Now, bureaucratic requirement, business regulation, procedural effectiveness, politicized bureaucracy, judicial impartiality, and corruption, we are pretty bad, as you can see there, according to the Bergman. Then quality of life, we are good in business procedures. We have quite a business people. Price control, it's not that bad. Shadow economy, the Yokali market. Now, civil justice, crime, other public services is practically zero. Education, environment, inflation is not that good, according to the Bergman. And then let's see what Mo Ibrahim has to say about some areas.
Would you say then that there are priorities, because it's a huge amount of things that go into this idea of governance and governance and development. So are there some forms of governance that you think are particular priorities in African countries?
I would think really rule of law is probably the bedrock because it enables other activities. But unfortunately, people have to deliver in all areas. We cannot neglect education because we are implementing rule of law, so there's no education. We cannot fail to treat our people if they are sick because, sorry, we are doing rule of law. Really, development is like a table in 4 legs, as you define it in the index. And we cannot have a tilted table. You know, your cup or your food will just fall by the side. So we need really a balanced development in all these areas.
And yet in many...
Sorry, I have to get the people out of the breakout rooms, otherwise they will not be able to listen. Breakout rooms. Oh, they are breaking already. So we'll have to start when they come back, which will be in a second. Let's see. They're about to come. 20 seconds. And I cannot speed it up. It's amazing. Well, the programmers have some jobs to do to make this. I could have chosen it. Okay. Now they are back. Yeah. So sorry we left you out, and then we compare the Bruggen index, and which is from a Nordic country in which Kenya doesn't appear too well, as you can see. But now we are with the video of Mo Ibrahim setting the priorities for the government.
Would you say then that there are priorities, because it's a huge amount of things that go into this idea of governance and governance and development. So are there some forms of governance that you think are particular priorities in African countries?
I would think really rule of law is probably the bedrock because it enables other activities. But unfortunately, people have to deliver in all areas. We cannot neglect education because we are implementing rule of law, so there's no education. We cannot fail to treat our people if they are sick because, sorry, we are doing rule of law. Really, development is like a table in 4 legs, as you define it in the index. And we cannot have a tilted table. You know, your cup or your food will just fall by the side. So we need really a balanced development in all these areas.
And yet in many...
Okay. So just he refers to the index, and the defense that, okay, there's no rule of law, there's anarchy. So there you have the different indexes that you can consult. Ibrahim is one of them. Now, what are the public leadership challenges that people in government have? Well, the globalization challenge. So what is the globalization challenge? Anything that we do is in a small number of people. So we have 45 or 50 million people now. That is very little. Okay? In the United States of America, there are 300 million people. So if they produce virus, they have a market of 300 million people. If we produce them here, we have a very small market. So if we unite with Tanzania and Uganda and South Sudan, well, the market is bigger, but it's still small. So a company that wants to really have a big market, it will go to other countries, not to us. So the second thing is, okay, what do we produce that other people cannot produce cheaper? Can you think of anything? Ugali. Avocados. Avocados, we are, I think, the 14th country producing avocados. The first one is Mexico. They produce 1 million tons. We produce, I think, it's about 200,000, 300,000 tons or less. So we can produce, and it's good, and we sell. We can sell even to China cheaper than Mexico because we are closer to China, and many ships come bringing things to China. So we can have a market, we can produce many more, and that is good. But basically, what we are producing is agricultural products. Now we are producing titanium, another mineral I don't remember, which is giving us good income. But basically, industrial things, what do we produce? Do we produce any electrical things? We can produce things. 1 month ago, 2 months ago, we have in the news somebody who is producing USB cables for phones. Well, that's good. If they are cheaper than importing them, that's great. So there are many things that we can produce locally if we have initiative. There was a time, I don't know if it is happening still, that it was cheaper to import computers assembled than assembling them here. Because the spare part that you have to import, the motherboard, etc., they are so heavily taxed that to produce a computer here, to assemble the computer here, is more expensive than assembling in India and bringing it. So you say, well, are we shooting ourselves on the foot? Yes. So the regulations, sometimes they don't help us. The example that really amuses me is the wedding card of people I know. They come from India and they are beautiful. Why? It's cheaper to fill them in India and just bring them by airplane than do it in River Road. Why? Because the ink is taxed a lot, because the paper is taxed a lot. So again, are we shooting ourselves on the foot? It looks like it's a complexity. So we have to have smart people running the regulations. The regulations are done in the ministries and sometimes in parliament. But the parliament people, what they know is how to write it for them. But they don't know too much about economics, they don't know too much about electricity, they don't know much about any economics either. So we have to choose people and we have to select people and we have them what are the consequences of the system. So it's complex. Running a country is complex. And if we don't have it, what is smart, then we pay for it. Inequality challenge. So we have Kibera and we have Karen and we have the middle. Yesterday, speaking with the manager, and very interest are so wide there. There are no title deeds for any and be difficult. And then the people there, what they do is they rent, get a tenant, they rent them, and they go to another slum. Because it's the only source of income they have. So the problem is complex. And the inequality look, it's better to help these people to be out of Tibet, but will replace them. To foundation, which is nice, and it has and they're building houses, affordable houses anyway. So the gender inequality, equality challenge, but here in Kenya we are much better than other countries of Africa. The diversity challenge to different ethnic groups, the good governance challenge that we have to improve. Capacity challenge. What is capacity challenge? It's to have people who are able to do the job. Have good politicians. So we have to create quality governance. For example, who retired, he has his and very good. So he then he tries to get the case of America to it how different states council of governors they try to model the same. And it seems it worked well. Elections was in the event that worked, and I don't know what is going to happen now. And to create that capacity for the governors and the MCS, because the erosion of confidence, we do not trust our government, we don't trust our police, and we don't trust our police. Who do we trust in Kenya? Who do you trust? Yourself. Even our wives or our husbands. So that is a problem.
Prof.
Yeah.
You are breaking a lot.
I am breaking. Oh,
yes,
sorry. Yes. I'm talking a bit too fast, and maybe
the network issue, perhaps.
My microphone is getting out of charge. So let me see if I have another one and I can connect it. I have two precisely for this, but I don't know if I will be able to connect to the other one. I have been having troubles. Let's see. Bluetooth devices. I have to add it. Let's see if I can add it. No, it's not recognizing it. So I will have to solve this problem. The headphone, the mobile headphone is not. Wait a moment. No, it doesn't recognize it. I'm afraid I will continue disconnecting. Or let me try to speak close to the computer. Oof. Let me change to the computer. I will have to be seated, which is not very fashionable. I will have to solve this problem. So I have to change the sound settings and wait a moment. No, yeah. So I changed to the computer. The computer microphone is not that good. I have to just shout a bit and be seated. So can you hear better now? Hello?
Yes.
You can hear better now, okay.
Yes,
so let's continue in this position. So the administrative reform challenge as well is due to laws that are obsolete. So what are laws obsolete? Well,
too much power to people, and one of them that I am really against it is the traffic law, because it's really making especially the traffic police very, very unfriendly. And just to put it nicely. So corruption. Corruption is something as well that the administrative has to work and the judiciary has to work. Corruption is bleeding us. Why do good people do bad things? Well, some people say it because they have a low salary, but there are people who have lower salaries and they work well. This is a video from Transparency International speaking about corruption.
For many citizens of African countries, paying bribes to officials for simple services like passports or driving licenses is all too common. Many even need to pay bribes just to file a complaint with the police. In fact, our research shows that 1 in 4 African citizens are forced to pay bribes for these and many other basic services, including life-saving medicines and healthcare. Over the last 2 years, more than 47,000 citizens from 35 African countries shared their everyday experiences of corruption with us. What did they say? Well, more than half of citizens think corruption is getting worse in their country, and their government is doing a bad job in tackling it. Corruption, though, doesn't affect everyone equally. The poorest in society are twice as likely to pay bribes than the wealthiest, and young people are more likely to pay bribes than older people. But corruption and bribery in Africa don't exist in a vacuum. Foreign governments and companies have a role to play, ensuring that cases, bribery, and money laundering in African countries are investigated and punished. The good news? A majority of people are optimistic they can still make a real difference in the fight against corruption. Learn more about the 2019 Global Corruption Barometer for Africa at www.transparency.org/GCB10.
So as you see, there are many people who have data. The problem is that data is useful when you have somebody who wants to use that data. So corruption is the use of public resources for private gain. Corruption is not only in government, it's in many companies. So you cannot have not corrupted institutions, you have corrupted people. And that is a problem because you think that in Strathmore there is no corruption. There is corruption in Strathmore. Probably you don't feel it, but people that there was one thing we got. Let me give you an example. We got an agreement with Minicab for the transport that you need to go to a school to advertise Strathmore. You need to go to buy something, so you get Minicab rather than having cars here and drivers that are not for the day. So there was since we have IT people, somebody discovered a trick by which they will get their private rights paid by Strathmore. And then it was discovered very quickly because then suddenly the rate was doubled in 1 month. So the people in finance says, hey, what is going on here? So one of the chiefs of IT did an analysis. And they discovered that members of the staff, some of them lecturers or professors, were using Minicab to take their children to school. Or one of them was getting every night, high at night, a Minicab to go to another member of the staff of a different gender regularly. So the IT, using the privacy, didn't give the names, but they didn't give exactly what they were using the Minicab for, but they had to give the names of the people. So those people, I thought they were going to be sacked, but no, they were reprimanded and recovered the money, but they continued I don't think anybody was sacked. I'm not sure. But as you see, wherever there is an opportunity, even people who are teaching here or they are administrative here, if they are not good, what can you do? So corruption is the use of public resources or resources that are used for another thing in your company for your own personal interest. So it's an opportunistic. So when you say this is an opportunistic behavior, what they are meaning is they're taking advantage of something they should not taking advantage. They find the opportunity, boom, they go for it. For example, you read in the news from time to time that a lorry of Kenya breweries has turned. What happens next? The villagers really have a feast. If it is Unga, the same happens. Anything, then it's a free for all. It's an opportunistic behavior. The problem is when it's a tanker of oil or petrol, and you know what happens, unfortunately, not only in Kenya, in Nigeria, in many places. Well, corruption by being measured by corruption index. Now, there are two views of corruption. So I had a friend that was working in Treasury for a long time, very high up. And he defended the people that were, the politicians that were corrupted. He says, look, it's a distribution of wealth. So it's their time to eat, and their community eats from them. They have to pay fees of people who are poor. They have to do this and that. So they say, okay, it's not that bad. And the other people say, no, that's really bleeding the country. And those politicians as well build houses, export money to Switzerland. So no, corruption should not be there. So the public resources are bad. One of the things that surprised me, and I had to think a bit, you see, Nigeria is the highest producer of oil in Africa. Nevertheless, they have rationing of oil. And then you say, what is going on there? What do you think could be a reason why they have to import fuel and they have a scarcity? What could be the reason? Why they don't have a refinery? We have a refinery, and they are much more powerful than us. Let me give another example. We export maize, and then we import maize. Why? So if I am in charge of the ministry, or even in charge of licenses, I ask money for you to export. And I ask money you for to import. So I get rich very quickly. So if you are in the petrol industry in Angola, or in the fisheries in Angola, or in petrol in Nigeria, so you get your cut when you export, you get your cut when you import. Easy. So corruption is really bad for the country. So corruption has negative effects on economic development. That's absolutely clear. The cost of public service is very high because they want you to pay. If you need a license to start a business, I have a friend who has a business. He needs 14 licenses to start a restaurant. And each of license, he has to pay a bribe. Will you start? And every year, he has to renew the licenses. Is that encouraging business? I don't think so. So, bad news. Increases the burden of the citizens. So we are paying for SGR. Some people benefited from SGR. big money. It demoralizes and leads political opportunism. So politicians have to pay, and they have to recover that money. Where are they going to recover that money? Not from the salary. Leads to inability to sustain professionals and administrators. I have two friends who finished medicine, finished the internship, and then now they are not employed. It's not because we don't need doctors in the counties, it's because the counties have other opportunities that give more money to them. So the people of the county suffers, no doctors, the doctor suffers, the professionals suffer. And the same happened in different counties. And, okay, in journals of previous courses, some people who were very good in their profession, in water department or in electrical department, and then they, because of political issues, they started employing people from the county who were absolutely unprepared and they have no idea of how to run this. So everything went down. So that is point number 5. Encourages brain drain. So where are these doctors going? In the moment they have an opportunity in South Africa, they go to South Africa. If they have an opportunity in the States, they go to the States. Our best nurses, our best doctors are working abroad. This ain't happening in other countries, but it's no good. Distorts international trade because discourages investment. People don't come to Kenya because it's too expensive to make business in Kenya. So if you put a factory, you put it in Rwanda, or you put it in Mauritius if you can. Leads to capital flight, so the money is not safe here, so you invest in other countries. Understands innovation. So corruption is bad. We know. So what are the causes of corruption? So mainly the government. So I told you the example of Singapore. So where would you put the money? In Kenya or in Singapore? Naturally, you put your money in Singapore. Where do you put a factory? If you can in Singapore, you put it in Singapore. You don't put it in Kenya. In Singapore, it takes 1 day to start to register a business. 1 day. It takes less than a morning to register an account in a bank in Singapore. So in the index of economic freedom, Singapore is #1. And it attracts a lot of business. Dubai attracts a lot of business. Why? Because they have little corruption, #1. And then they have a judiciary now, a system for business cases in which they guarantee that in 1 week you have your judgment. So where do you put your industry? In Kenya, where it can take up to 30 years to get your case, or you put it in Singapore? If I have money, which I don't, I want to stay in industry, you have me in Singapore tomorrow. Poverty and severe inequality. So if you are poor, what do? And you don't have opportunities of working, you have to survive. And then there are cultural norms. So is my time to eat. So if I get a job in government, what do I have to do to feed my people? Now, the first generation of African leaders took actions that tried to create a unitary and a strong central government to contain tribalism by centralizing power and create one-party states. Well, more than to contain tribalism, you remember, probably you don't remember, but with Kenyatta, all the chiefs were Kikuyus. Not the chiefs, how do you call it? The district governors were Kikuyu. So you say, Aya, and that is not very accurate. The effect was to create a personalistic rule and other effects such as suffocation of civil society, external debt, economic decay, independence. So one of the things that created or is still creating a bit of corruption, you see, one of the problems of the colonial government in Kenya, I don't know in other countries, but in Kenya, they didn't educate Kenyans. So there were no secondary schools in Kenya for Africans. They were for Indians and they were for Europeans, but not for Kenyans. And primary education was low as well. So when independence came, there were very few people educated in Kenya to take over businesses. And the few educated or semi-educated went to government. Then in the parliament, they passed a law, apart from the only party, they passed a law allowing the politicians and members of government to run businesses. Naturally enough, if you are in government, whom are you going to give the business to? To your own business. And this is still there. So the former president had some few business, didn't he? And he used his business and he increased the business. For example, I have been told it was mandatory with these housing projects. Now, you have to use material that was only produced by one of his companies in the regulation. Then you say, come on. Yeah? Are you helping Kenyans or are you helping yourself? We know that the present president has hotels, among many other things. Is that good for Kenya? Well, loyalty to a group of tribes is more important than individual rights of a company. A successful civil servant expects to share the benefits of his office with members of his group, extended family, or tribe. And then, from the colonial era, we didn't have democratic institutions. Now, this was in Kigali in 2018. Do we have time? No, we don't have time. So it has been a bit negative regarding corruption, but then next week we are going to find solutions to corruption. Corruptions within the company, corruptions within the government, and corruptions within the neighbors. It's not easy. It's not easy. And there are very interesting things that in this conversation between Kagame and Mo Ibrahim are going to come to light that were a surprise even to me. So next week, don't miss the next episode. I hope I will have sorted out the problem of the microphone for the people who cannot come to class. Very good. Have a nice evening. Ay.